we're going to talk about some playoffs real quick. We got a couple paths for a couple teams. So, obviously, Georgia, Michigan, TCU. Win in championship weekend, they're in. USC's path to the playoff is simple. Win and they're in. You win in the Pac-12 championship against Utah, you're in. Ohio State's path to the playoff. If TCU loses to K-State in the Big 12 championship and Michigan loses to Purdue in the Big 10 championship, then I think Ohio State actually has a pretty good path because both those teams would be one loss. The only team left undefeated would be Georgia at that point. So I think that it would be a little bit crazy. I think if USC loses too, they're in. I think if USC loses as well, they'll probably get put in. But that's where this dark horse comes in. Good old Alabama. Now, a lot of people have been talking about this, about Alabama's playoff path. To me, it's impossible. There is no way the committee is going to put in Alabama with any way. The only way that this would... the committee's done crazier things. The only way this would happen, though, TCU loses, Michigan loses, and USC loses. And it's not one of those things has to happen. It's not two of those things have to happen. It's all three of those things have to happen. TCU would have to lose, Michigan would have to lose, and USC would have to lose. If any of those teams win, they're not making it in. Because OSU, Ohio State, only has one loss to the number 3 team in the country. Was it a blowout at home? Yes. But it's still only one loss to the number 3 team. TCU would only have one loss, and TCU has played in some tough environments, and they already beat Kansas State in the regular season. A one-loss TCU would definitely get in over Bama. So there's no way. I don't think that Bama, with 2 losses, gets in. Because who have they played on their schedule? They played a tough SEC schedule, but who'd they beat? They lost on the road to Tennessee, who has no pass defense, and, Will Reichard missing a field goal, and they lost to LSU in overtime. So it wasn't even a convincing loss. They only lost by 1 point. I guess they had a chance to win, but LSU dropped they nuts, as the South Carolina defender says, and got in the end zone on a 2-point try and won the game in overtime. So, Alabama, what have they done to deserve to get in? Their pass defense sucks. Their offense has been lackluster at some points in this season. I don't think that they've done anything to prove that they deserve to get in because they haven't won games they needed to. In the games that they were supposed to win, the big games, they didn't. They lost 2 top 10 matchups. And they just don't have any reason to get in because everybody's been talking about, Alabama's strength of schedule is better than TCU. TCU hasn't played anybody and they've had to come back. It's okay, they've won the games that mattered. They've won the games in regular season. They've gone undefeated in regular season. They're the only undefeated team in the Big 12. If they take one loss in the championship, you really think the committee is going to put in 2-loss Alabama, who hasn't beat a single top 10 team all season, over a team who has beat a lot of top 25 opponents in some tough environments and only lost against a team they've already beat? No. TCU will get in. That's my opinion.
I agree with you, Mason. I think you made a lot of good points, and just truthfully, like you said, I think it would be an absolute disaster. It would ruin all credibility of the committee if they were to put Alabama in. I don't think they will, and I don't think there's any path for Alabama to get in, even if all 3 of those teams lose, which I don't think they will. I think TCU and Michigan will both win, and USC, they may lose, but TCU and Michigan, I believe, will both win, and at that point, it doesn't matter. It's all over anyway. So a 2-loss team, the only 2-loss team that was going to make it would have been LSU. They're out, so a 2-loss team will not see the CFP this year. End of story.
Definitely.